A few years ago, I was standing next to a couple on a lot, and nobody else was around. I was just there as a trainer waiting for consultants to come around. The couple was in their mid 30s. They had two kids running around like crazy rugrats all over the lot, hands all over everything, crawling inside of cars. You know the drill. Taking a look at their vehicle, stroller in the back, and they were pretty well ready to do something right then and there. Here's where it got interesting. They got out of their vehicle. They weren't aggressive. They weren't grinding me down for anything. They were simply just guarded. And the crazy part is it was coming off of them, like radiating, like the vast majority of people that come in with fortified concrete walls around them with archers pointing directly at us. You could feel the tension. Very nice people, though. I'd ask them questions, and every answer was short. Every smile had like this cautious tinge to it, and I couldn't quite place it. And every question had some sort of follow-up that sounded kind of like this. Okay, but what's the catch? When there wasn't any catch at all. They were simply just very guarded individuals. And this is how most people are when they come into the dealership. But at one point, this husband said something that really struck me kind of sideways. And all he had to say was something that many of us have heard before, and there's no way around this. There's just absolutely no way. We've just been burned. And it's like, what do you mean you've just been burned? They went in, they interact with somebody else at another dealership. It wasn't at my store. It wasn't even me. I wasn't even part of this conversation. But because I was a car sales consultant, all of that came onto me because apparently we're robots and we all do the same thing. It was the before time that really got them and set the stage for what was about to happen. And at that moment, it hit me like a ton of bricks. Most customers don't show up skeptical because of you. They show up skeptical because of what they've learned along the way. Because here's kind of the funny thing, is that people actually don't hate buying cars. And you'll hear them say that all the time, is I hate buying cars, and insert one reason or another. What they really hate is how buying a car made them feel in the past. And that difference is absolutely everything. And it's something that we can very easily patch up being a really good, empathetic person that actually cares about the other human being that's sitting in front of us. So here's the truth bomb. Dealerships didn't lose trust because the customer changed. It doesn't happen. Customers don't change. Every single customer that walks through your front door is different. I've preached about this. They lost trust because behavior didn't change. And they're seeing the same thing that they've seen every single time. And the reason is that the process is fundamentally broken from the start. Remember, our process was written in the 1930s. And I'm about to go ahead and pull this all apart so you can see exactly what the differences are. So for decades, we've trained people to essentially brace themselves. And when a human braces themselves, their brain is not looking for value. It's looking for a threat. And once someone feels threatened, logic completely shuts down. But really, people will buy anything. And a lot of us know this, is that when it comes to somebody walking in through your front door, yeah, people will buy absolutely anything. And they buy things for these very simple three reasons. One, to reduce their anxiety, makes them feel better. Two, to increase certainty with whatever might be going on in their life. And then three, to move toward a better version of themselves by upping their game in one way or another. And that's really it. I mean, why people buy things is crazy, stupid, simple. But nobody, when they walk through the front door, is buying a car because of torque alone. They buy it because it represents something. Safety for their kids, freedom, status, reliability, relief. All of these things culminate to the person going ahead and buying the car. The vehicle is actually rarely ever the product that the customer is looking at. And the environment that they're in, the physical environment, can increase anxiety instead of decreasing it. And when I hear people say, well, we have this beautiful brand new store, therefore we must be making more money and selling more cars. I'm sorry, that's not how it works. If the brain is in an uncomfortable area and it's feeling anxiety, all of a sudden it puts up that castle wall again and says, no, we're not going to go ahead and do this. Even if your numbers are making sense, the customer will still look at you and go, no. Now, people buy things for 3 reasons. 1, to simply reduce anxiety. 2, to increase certainty in one area of their life or another. And then 3, to move forward toward a better version of themselves. And really, that's it. Nobody buys a vehicle because of torque. People aren't coming in looking at every single little grainy detail in a spreadsheet going, hey, how the heck does this thing work? They buy it because it represents something to them, whether it's safety for their kids, freedom, status, reliability, relief. All of these things play massively into whether they're going to make their decision. But one of the things that I didn't say in here, they don't buy it because of the money. They don't buy it because the payment was good. People don't run out and spend $50, $40, $30, $20,000 because it's just something that they want to do today. It's a decision that doesn't come lightly to most people. But when it comes down to the feels, that's what gets people to buy anything. You see, the vehicle is actually rarely ever the product. The feeling is, and that's something that we can all tap on into. But if the environment that the individual is in increases anxiety instead of decreasing it, the brain goes, no bueno, we're not doing this. And it tries to run away, even if the numbers make complete, perfect sense to that individual. So let's talk about the trained behaviors then. First one is going to be trust leaks. Picture this. A customer asks, how long does this whole thing going to take? It's a question that I absolutely hated. And the reason is that I knew after selling many products over many years is that it's going to take a little bit and you should know this, but we can't pull the customer aside and go, hey, listen to me. This is exactly the answer. It's not cool. And if you want anxiety to spike, go ahead and tell them, yeah, it's going to be quick, and then watch it all fall apart because it just wasn't. Our response is typically like, well, it shouldn't be too long. And you want to give that so badly. But the reaction, you're going to see it happen in real time. You give this, their shoulders are going to tighten, their eyes will narrow just slightly. And this is because vague answers equals unsafe. And try this one, or the classic, we just need a few signatures. I love this one. With no explanation, no roadmap at all. We're simply just complying with what the road to the sale has told us over many years. This doesn't feel like a collaborative, system. It feels like it's being controlled by something else. Now, if somebody's coming in to buy something from me, I'm going to slow down a little bit and get to know who the heck they are so I can cater to them in the best ways possible. But to go ahead and say, well, we need to do things X, Y, and Z way because of compliance, I'm sorry, if you're a manager out there and you're telling your staff, well, we do things exactly this way every single time. No, you have to have some flexibility. Case in point is this. I was working at a dealership one day, training some sales consultants, and one of the sales consultants stepped up in class, raised his hand, stood up, and said, we don't do it that way. I said, what do you mean? Your needs assessment is not a thing? And he says, well, the manager won't let us back into the dealership unless the customer is on a selected product. I was like, okay, how much are you making per copy here? And he started telling me his commissions, and it was mini, big pounder, mini, big pounder. And the thing that was keeping him in the business were these big paychecks that were coming like once every 5th or 10th vehicle. Other than that, the dealership was baiting him along, taking the customer's needs and quite literally throwing them in the garbage can and going, hey, we just don't care about this. And this controlled situation makes people kind of hate you because anxiety doesn't help. And then we attempt to make them feel better by moving the numbers around because rebates help people feel better, and assessing the structure might help a little bit. And loyalty doesn't really buy into things like rebates and incentives. So we ask them to sign, they sign, and then they get into the office and then the numbers move. Here comes some rebates, right? And maybe it's the structure that they needed to change. Maybe it's because something totally legitimate is making the numbers move around. But if the explanation isn't clear and proactive, the brain says this is slippery and it wants to run away, because anything that just feels vague or slippery or odd is just time to run. As consultants, while we're working with the customer, usually on the walk around, we tend to do something that I call the data dump. We cover every feature, every package, every acronym, and the customer's sitting there going, oh yeah, they're looking engaged, but the light's not on up here anymore. The overwhelmed stress response is kicking in. The customer is completely overwhelmed at this point. And when people are overwhelmed, they don't feel confident. They feel small. And then there's this other thing, the pressure. And I've always loved this, is that we have this idea that, well, get out there and control your customer. And I'm sure you've said it before, and I know I have before. And as a sales consultant, we go, okay, so I am in total control. I'm going to let you in a little secret here. You don't have any control over this. None. Actually, you know the process, but the process can be easily broken by the person that doesn't know the process, the customer. And then when the process is broken, we fight to get it back on track. And then we start asking really dumb questions like this, Jim. What do we have to do to earn your business today? Now, this might sound normal in the showroom, but to the nervous system of the human body, this immediately triggers urgency. And urgency without safety feels like a threat. And people don't buy when flight or flight is triggered. They escape. They run away. They fight tooth and nail for every single dollar that you have when it comes down to negotiation, because it's the only part of the process that they actually understand, because it's the only one that we invite them into. And then we layer this on top. Sales promises clarity, F&I speaks a completely different language, and service just feels rushed. This isn't malicious, it's just how it happens, and we easily at dealerships can become misaligned. But customers, they don't experience departments, they experience one organism at a time. And if one organism argues with itself, trust completely craters and it collapses. You see, consistency offers up confidence, and confidence offers up comfort. Predictability is going to bring safety to the front, and alignment with departments equals power, meaning that we actually know what the heck we're doing, and we can all work in sync with a customer that feels comfortable. So let's go back to this couple that I was talking about just a second ago. Instead of rushing them, I decided I'm going to slow down, because these people, they're already frantic and they don't need to be any crazier at this point. So I said, hey, before we do anything else, here's what today looks like. I outlined a timeline for them. I outlined the steps that we were going to take and when the numbers would come up and who they would meet along the way. You could literally see their shoulders drop, and predictability lowers fear faster than discounts ever could. Now, when we got to the paperwork, I changed gears a little bit. I still stayed in the area of predictability and comfort, but mainly I understood that these individuals simply just needed direction. And the word track went a little bit like this. We at this dealership, we use this form to give you accurate options and not waste any of your time. And even more so, they settled on into the seats. Their anxiety just went away. And all they were looking for is the ability to understand, the ability to have confidence. Now, during the walk around, this is where it got a little interesting, and I'm pretty sure back in the day, somebody would have said, no, you can't do it that way. But I ignored half the stuff that was on the car, and the reason is it didn't apply. To the customer, you mentioned that you've got 2 kids and a long soccer weekends. The second row setup inside of this thing makes loading and unloading the vehicle like really, really easy when you're exhausted. This is called identity-based selling. And it increases certainty and increases confidence in the individual that's sitting directly in front of you. Identity-based selling is why I tell people closing starts and ends during needs assessment. If you have that information, you can go right to the vehicle and pull out things that hyper-focus on who that person is. Because again, customers don't really care what the torque number is. I ask sales consultants all the time, what's the difference between horsepower and torque? 99.9% of the time, it's a question that never gets the right answer. So take that spreadsheet, throw it in the trash. Customers are coming on in to buy something for the feels. They're not coming in to buy something simply for a spreadsheet. So when it's time for the numbers, this is an area where I didn't flinch. No speed talking here, no tension. Here are the numbers. Let me walk you through them. And that confidence transferred right on over to them because they were already prepared. They knew I was on their side and they knew that I had their back. So before every major step, How are you feeling so far? Silence is feedback, not agreement. By the end, and before every major step, when a transition was to come along, I would ask them, hey, how are you feeling? This check-in allowed them to straight up tell me, hey, I feel this way about this vehicle, or I feel that way about this vehicle. By the end, the customers weren't braced anymore. They were excited. They were able to work with the same person all the way through and experience a different behavior than they picked up from a dealership that they were at prior. We can't fix what happens at other stores, but what we can do is we can control who we are and take that playbook from the 1930s and throw it in the dumpster and light it on fire. Because when the end of the day rolls around, it's about the person that's sitting in front of you. It's not about the product anymore. Remember, those old user manuals, here's the 6 or 8 steps to the road to the sale. And those things come out of a time when manufacturers were not going to let off the throttle producing vehicles. And we see it every day. The customers come on in, they want to buy something, and we have this cave their head in type approach that we have to stop. If you're wondering why this business may be a bit of a struggle for you, the reason is because you're making it a struggle for yourself. And I know you may not like that answer, but it's the truth. This business has given so much back to myself and a lot of other people simply because it allows you to meet people and see people for who they really are. And then once you get on the same page with them, people want to give you their money. But if they aren't in a position to desire to buy the product, then they'll be in a position to fight you tooth and nail once you finally get to the price. And that's not cool for you. It's not cool for your bank account. It's not cool for your mortgage, your significant other, whatever it might be. Either way, the customer in the end is in control of your income. And the only way for us to get that back is to change the way that we do things. And here's where most dealerships just straight up fail. They try as hard as they can, but it kills them. They're just stuck on this old 1930s owner's manual on how exactly we should do our jobs. And it's kind of sad and pathetic because we just need to realize that money is not forked over from the customer just simply because there has to be meaning there. So most stores, when it comes down to failure, it's kind of like this. They hear this, they nod, they do nothing different after they've executed that behavior. You see, we hope in this business, and hope is something that I hear all the time, is that the customer is going to change. It is just not happening this month. Hope isn't a strategy. It's simply not. Hope in this business is reluctance for us to sit down and clarify negative behavior. And behavior change requires repetition and it requires work. So this week I have something for you, and it's only going to take you about 10 minutes. And it's going to be probably one of the more powerful things that you've done in a while when it comes to sitting down and actually improving your job. I want you to figure out where weak phrases live for you. When you say things and you get a reaction from the customer, write that down and then perform a trust leak audit on it. Because what you want is the public to praise you for positive customer experience. Because public praise is one of the strongest languages that you can have. It's the thing that gives us good ratings. It's the thing that allows people to come on in off of Google and go, oh, hey, these people are absolutely incredible. But when it comes on the weak language and the language that we speak, words like the box and stroke and bogue and roach and all that fun stuff, understand that that's our language. And it's something that I've always considered to be sacred. It doesn't sound good to anybody that might be listening to it, but that's why it is our language. And keep it away from the customer. Keep it away from them, because nobody wants to hear that you're going to go into the box in just a minute. It sounds terrible. But when the culture shifts and you've dedicated your life to saying, I am going to make sure that people feel better when they're sitting in front of me, all of a sudden the language shifts too. It doesn't shift when a stupid poster goes up on the wall that's like, hey, do this and you're going to feel better about X, Y, or Z. When a poster goes up, people look at it, smile, they get their warm and fuzzies, and it works for about 10 seconds. And everybody goes back to doing what they were doing before. But the moral of the story is that customers, they don't hate dealerships. They hate unpredictability, pressure, and confusion. And these things just drive them bonkers. If you can remove these 3 things, you'll make car buying exciting again. Your profits will go up. You will sell cars faster, which is how it's supposed to be. We're here to help customers buy. We are not here to pressure them and sell them. So this week, audit one thing, just one thing, because that one thing that you're getting reactions back from customers on, well, that's probably where uncertainty lives. So fix that one first. And also understand that trust isn't built in speeches. It's built in micro moments. Your reputation, it isn't a marketing problem. It's a behavior problem. And you can have the greatest ads that are out there, but if it's already spread around town that you're the worst dealership to deal with, then why are people even going to come on in? You can offer up as much money as you want, and people will still go down the street, buy from somebody else simply because it felt better to do that there. But behavior is kind of a cool thing, though. It's completely trainable. And it's something that over here at Auto Nerd, we are working aggressively on to make sure that you have a tool in the future that can make you the top of your game. So if you want to hear about that, click that subscribe button, or if you got something out of this, click that subscribe button, whether you're on the podcast or YouTube. My name's Andrew Sardone. Thank you very much for listening this week. I hope you got something out of it. And I hope it gave you the ability to take a little bit of pause and make yourself a little bit extra coin, because in the end, well, it's about kindness, caring, and having fun. You got one life to live. So let's at least make it super enjoyable, shall we? And big part of that is making the person in front of us really happy. And when you make them really happy, your life becomes significantly better. Until next week, I'll see you next time. Auto Nerd out.